Hi, my name is MWatson, and this is my interpersonal communication project for Human Services 508 at Liberty University. Next slide. Introduction. Genesis 2 and 18 is the starting point for human communication. God said that it wasn't good for Adam to be alone, and he created Eve. Again, this is the starting point for human communication. Communication is defined in several ways. Stewart defines communication as the continuous, complex, collaborative process of verbal and nonverbal meaning-making. Peterson describes communication in two ways. First, as sharing information, and secondly, connecting with others. Conversations are the most influential communication event. They involve both talking and listening, and who we are emerges in our conversation. Interpersonal communication happens when people converse in ways that maximize the personal presence. Next slide, overarching goal. My overarching goal is to enlarge my conversations by developing skills that enhance the quality of communication. These skills include self-awareness and present moment living, intentional deep listening, balancing self-disclosure, understanding the different personality patterns, choosing to display love in the way I communicate, quick listening and slow speech, and the empowerment of the Holy Spirit to give me the power needed to develop these skills. Next slide, behavioral blend. Behavioral blend affects how we communicate. My behavioral blend is the DIC, dominating, inspiring, and cautious. The strengths of this behavioral blend is competence, focused, and determined, active, outgoing, and open to change, and liking to do things correctly. The weaknesses of this behavioral blend is a need to improve people skills and the lack of sensitivity and understanding. Next slide. Communication barriers. Every person has unique communication barriers to overcome. My potential barriers include interrupting the speaker, engaging in intellectual, logical listening, and the desire to fix problems. The plan to resolve these barriers includes seeking to understand the barriers. Self-awareness is very important with communication issues. Oftentimes, it is the self-awareness that causes us not to listen deeply, to be strongly opinionated and judgmental, and so many other things that increase barriers in communication instead of decreasing them. And self-awareness often assists us with first dealing with our own personal issues so that when we come to the communication table, we are already equipped to be a healthy communicator instead of an unbalanced communicator. The second plan to resolve the barriers is to develop self-control. It is one thing to understand and know a lot of things, but having self-control and application is very important to resolve these barriers. The next slide, noise pollution. There's both internal and external noise pollution. However, the good thing about noise pollution is there are resolutions to it. Fatigue is an internal pollution. However, the solution to fatigue is resting and making sure that our time is managed well so that we have ample rest to be able to communicate. This means a lifelong of time management for the purpose of rest, because communication is a constant part of our life from the time that we start our day to the end of the day. Diverted attention is another noise pollution, and the solution to this is to focus our attention on the present communication situation. Unshared opinions and judgments are another internal noise pollution, and the solution to this is to practice not owning the problem of the talker. External noise pollution includes time pressures, and the solution to this is to work on time management skills. Another external noise pollution is other conversations, and the solution to this is finding a quiet place to talk instead of talking in a place where multiple conversations exist. Next slide. Plan of action. My plan of action is overall to focus on the overarching goal of enlarging the conversation by developing these communication skills. Step one in this plan of action is to accept responsibility and accountability for communication with others. I am responsible for the development of my own individual communication skills. Step number two, in order to be responsible and accountable, I first have to have the information that is needed to understand what it means to be a good communicator. So step number two of my plan of action is to reread all of the course material without the deadlines. Losing the deadlines allows me to take the time needed to not only read the material, but to meditate on it so that I can apply it mentally to previous experiences before application. Step number three is the application process. Once I understand the information, begin to intentionally practice what I have learned, the principles that have been learned for application understanding. And step number four is a commitment to lifelong communication development. This cannot be something that ends at the end of this course, but something that I am committed to and accountable for the rest of my life. In other words, I must become a life student of developing communication skills. The end.